What's up, everyone? Welcome back for a brand new edition of Kaleido Ladies Night with, I'm going to say, a bucket list guest, Michelle Rodriguez for Dungeons and Dragons. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, how you doing?
What was the movie, the performance, personal experience you had, you name it, that first made you say to yourself, I have to be an actor and nothing else?
Ooh, wow. It happened the opposite for me. I have to be a writer and nothing else. And then I became an actor and nothing else happened with the writing. It was really weird. I decided I wanted to be in the movie industry because I'm fascinated by movies. I used to go to my friend's house all the time and watch her VCR tapes. And most of the VCR tapes that she had there were like B movies. But I just was in love with the idea of telling stories on the screen. And I fell in love with it so much so that I tried, doing the school thing and it didn't really work out for me. So I just took my GED and my brother told me about Backstage, the newspaper. And I started looking at Backstage. Then I started doing background work. So I did background work for about 2 years. And then my brother was like, you better start pitching in and get a life. Or I'm going to kick you out of the house because you're an adult now. I think I was like 18 or something like that. And I was like, okay. And I tried doing the get a life thing and I did the school thing for a little bit. And then I ended up like $5,000 in debt. And I still had this bug that I, needed to be in this industry, whether it was as a writer or something. And eventually I ended up at a Girlfight, open cattle call. It was like 250 girls. And next thing you know, it was all history from there. I trained for her for about a month because I had no experience. I was like, I never graduated high school, but I could beat up most of the girls in this room. That was my attitude. And give me an opportunity and I'll try. She gave me acting lessons and decided to take a chance on me. It was Karyn Kusama. And it was her first movie at NYU. It was her thesis. And it took her 6 years to make Girlfight because they wanted the boy to win at the end. And she held her ground and said, I won't take your money unless you let me make this movie the way that I wrote it. And she had wrote it because Lucia, I believe it was Lucia Riker who had a Golden Gloves fight against a boy and she won. And all the men producers were like, the girl could never win. We don't want to make a movie about a girl winning against a guy. What is this? It took her 6 years to make it. Can you believe it? And she decided to trust me, a little knucklehead from Jersey City with no education. I was like, all right, I'll take it on, It was a challenge. I took about a month's worth of acting classes so I wouldn't bite my lower lip during scenes because I used to get nervous. And that was it. From there, everything kind of flowed. Next thing you know, I haven't stopped working since.
Speaking of Karyn standing her ground on that particular element of the film, one of my favorite things about your body of work, and when I read about how you carry yourself on sets and all sorts of productions, is how you always advocate for yourself and for your characters. So I've got two questions about that. First, having had the courage to do that yourself, especially when it can be scary when you're first starting out in this industry, what advice would you give to an up-and-coming actor out there who wants to make sure that their voice is heard on a set, but also that it's being heard in a way that's actually going to spark change?
I'm probably not the best person to talk to because I pissed off a lot of people on the way up. And I gotta say, I draw a line in the sand. And my line in the sand is very clear. There's a line for self-respect. There's a line of this is what I wouldn't do in front of millions of people around the world on purpose. You know what I mean? And if you try to cross that line with me, perhaps trying to get me to play a slut in front of millions of people around the world won't happen. Try to get me to be the loser girlfriend who has a cheating boyfriend and cries over him in entire films. Not going to happen. Be the girl who's a stripper or a drug dealer because Latinos are thrown into that box all the time. I'm like, not going to happen. Girl who uses her Cleopatra power or her sex to get everywhere that she's going to go. Not going to happen. So as long as you don't break any of those rules with me, I'm easy to work with. I'm very down to earth and super collaborative. But the minute that anybody tries to force any of those things on me, I'm like, I don't mind going back to Jersey City to my old life because those are the lines that I would never cross. But most people want it so bad, they're willing to sacrifice certain things along the way. And I'll tell you, just from my little experience of 20 some odd years in this business, the minute you cross one line, the rest are going to fall like dominoes. So you got to hold your fort and be willing to die in the name of that line. You know what I mean? You got to literally be willing to give it all up. If you're not willing to give it all up in the name of your lines, your ethics, your morals, whatever it is, then, then you're gonna sacrifice some things that might bite you in the ass later. So I pissed off a lot of people on the way. I got to say, I've been blacklisted from a lot of things. I've gone without work for very long periods of time in between things because, people mistake my courage, I guess. I guess they would call it courage, but it's just me being me for I don't know, an attitude or something. And it's not that. I just know what I want and I know what I'm not willing to do to get it.
It's a very important line to draw. Having always advocated for yourself since the very beginning, it does make me curious. How have the things that you fought for changed over the years, both in terms of your personal priorities, in terms of the types of projects you want to be working on, but then also in terms of how the industry itself has changed?
Dude, I'm so stoked. I mean, before it was like my only means of acquiring freedom was doing action movies, And I always felt like, why do I have to act like a man to gain any freedom in this business, and not be the girlfriend? You know what I mean? It was like really, really hard. And now it was like, I was alone pretty much because I was like the tomboy girl who did all the action movies. And and now you see a lot more feminine women, who really wouldn't necessarily think of punching someone in the face in a kick-ass action film. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel really happy about where we are today. I got to say in the beginning, 2001, 2002, 2003, it was rough out here for women who wanted to be free, independent, and speak their mind. And I feel that is changed so much in the last 20 years. And I'm super proud of where the industry has come.
A big part of that, too. What you just said reminded me of a quote that I had read from you when you were promoting Widows. It was this idea that experience inspired you. I think that the terms you used was to take a sledgehammer to the tough girl persona. So how did that goal arising at that time wind up influencing how you tackle a character like Holga in finishing Letty's story?
It's intriguing because, there are obviously, different types of humans on the planet. We come from both men and women. And, I think to survive, from the ghetto, from being in a very aggressive Jersey City growing up, I acquired very masculine qualities. Just so I wouldn't end up pregnant before 17, smell the armpits, act like a dude. He won't be attracted to you and you won't get pregnant. It's like a male deterrent mechanism, It worked like a charm, to be fair. I'm here, But, I think it's more traumatic for me specifically to take on that masculine quality. I don't think it was natural. I think had I been in an environment that were less aggressive, I may have had a soft power shine through that is a lot more sophisticated and I think personally beautiful than the masculine qualities that I inherited to survive. And I projected those qualities, in my Hollywood career by channeling my anger, and using my force to become independent and to be free. But it's because I'm in a man's world, you know what I mean? And if all the dudes are there and they're very aggressive and they assert their energy and assert their space, then I have to do the same to make my own space so that I don't get squashed. You know what I mean? And so I think now at 44, a long time after the beginning of my career, I've learned that I can use a little bit of my wit to replace the sword and the fierceness. Obviously, Holga's not that at all. But you can see that there is a softness in her. There's an intelligence in her that's maternal and sweet and kind. And I think that kind of femininity 20 years ago, I wouldn't have had.
Well, that makes me think of Widows again, because you do have that really nice balance in that particular film. Another thing that I was reading from that always catches my ear is when someone works with an acting coach, because I feel like that's not something we talk about very often. And I know that was the first time you worked with a coach since Girlfight.
Yeah.
So what is something about Greta's approach to, teaching and coaching an actor that you found worked really well for how you like to process, notes and feedback and tips that you could use?
Here's the thing, it's crazy, but I've always been super, super natural. Like, for me, I try to find the truth in a moment and be as sincere as I possibly can within that. And what Greta brings to the table is the art form of that. True thespians, people like Chris, for instance, like you look at him, he's a true thespian. Like the boy loves words and he loves playing them in every single which way possible and looking at all the options in all the land. And I love it. I appreciate it, but it's never really been what I do. I've always just you put me in a situation and I exaggerate whatever I am to suit that situation. And what Greta taught me were some of the wonderful tools of becoming a tool yourself. And I just, I gotta say, I appreciate it. I'm all about it. But I've always felt more like an activist than an actor. You know what I mean? I just take something on, and I'm natural as possible within the structure. Like, put it this way, like it'd be really rare for you to see me in a drama. But if something right comes along and I really feel passionate about it, Greta will get that phone call and it'll be like, honey, do you think I got what it takes to do this? And if so, can you guide the way? Because, it's an art form and I respect it, but I feel more like an imposter than anything because, no, seriously, because, I know what it takes to be like a serious actor. I just never decided to take a role that when you work with somebody like McQueen, he's one of those guys who really wants truth, that kind of honesty that you only get from suffering. And to go there and be vulnerable like that, I need Greta's help.
You credit a lot of your success for certain directors, Karyn Kusama, James Cameron, Robert Rodriguez, all seeing something special in you. And it was making me wonder, they're all very different filmmakers, but do you find that they have a shared quality that signals to you that they're directors that will be the type of collaborator that you want to have?
Each and every one of them is a rebel in their own way. If you look at Jim Cameron, he's always getting snubbed by the Oscars, but he's a monster. He's an engineer. He's the kind of guy that sees things that nobody else does. You look at his body of work, his movies, he is able to speak a language of communication to millions of people around the world in a language that they understand. But he'll take that commercial, program and flip it on its head to use it for good. The messages that he's trying to give, are messages that are common goodness to humanity. They're ethical, questions about how we live life. And he poses philosophical, questions that nobody else is really doing what he does. So I find him to be an incredible rebel. Robert Rodriguez, come on. He's got his own studio in Austin, dude. Give me a break. The guy basically said, okay, I guess this is what I have to do my own thing because you guys don't get it. So he built his own studio. Like, come on. And McQueen, the guy, McQueen, he definitely has another set of eyes. And he definitely loves to play with the edges of truth. And he knows that the only place to find those edges of truth are in these dark corners where suffering can create growth. And you see that in his body of work. And that I find to be rebellious and courageous in so many ways. So yeah, I'm not the girl who comes to Hollywood through the front door. I'm a side door bitch. You know what I mean? I got in through the kitchen, and it's because I got a homie there, and that's kind of been my life. Look at Vin. Vin's my best friend. Me and Vin, we did to Hollywood what hip hop did to the music industry. I mean, and we came with a truth that we were like, how could these other people not see this truth? And we fought for it, movie after movie after movie after movie. And now people get it. They're like, oh, they were fighting for something that was important. Obviously, because they're connecting to people from around the world who get it. And so it's like that. It's like, you know what I mean? And I get on with people like that because there's a big heart there. If you look at all of them, they all have a big heart. You can see a big heart in Robert. You can see a big heart in Jim. You can see a big heart in McQueen. You can see, you know what I mean? It's like it's like rebellious, big-hearted, people.
Very much so. How does the heart and the rebellious nature apply to John and Jonathan now on Dungeons and Dragons? What do they do that kind of signals to you that they've got those qualities as well?
Well, I think that they are able to see what lightheartedness and heartfelt geekiness. Wait, hold on. I gotta think about this one. Because there's something about that script that said to me, I care. I'm not just taking a brand that's been free advertising for 40 years and making a blockbuster out of it. That is second to story. That is second to writing the best adventure we could possibly create and see how the world receives it as an intention. And when people think like that, they're already rebels to me. Because for the most part, I think people reverse engineer things, thinking about the end goal, of like doing a 10 poll and like, look at this. It's popular around the world because it came out in Stranger Things, and look at how it's tracking. Look at how the board game sold during COVID, blah, blah, blah. People look at the numbers and they think in numbers. And it's like, no, these are humans in a room using their imagination with these dragons and druids and all of this amazing world full of creatures that have been created over the course of almost 50 years. Like, we need to give this respect. And I think that with John and Jonathan, they come from that. They come from the experience of playing the game, of being excited and seeing the enthusiasm in a room as everybody's laughing, giggling, or falling on the floor with laughter and surprise because the adventure didn't go the way that they planned it to go. Because they understand the process. And understanding the process is what I saw in the script. And a love and respect for the entire legacy of Dungeons and Dragons. That makes them rebels, because that means that they see the heart of something, the core of what keeps something alive, the core that gives energy and life to something. And that is rare. You don't see that every day. You know what I mean? And so yeah. I'm like, all right, you know what? I'll take a chance with you guys, because it can be a crapshoot. You can throw the dice on the floor and you can care a lot and think that you were attracted to the right idea and not get it. But being a person who played it as a kid and understanding, the passion that goes behind finding your tribe and all of the amazing, they call them geeks or nerds, but these are just kids who found their flow. They found a place where they are accepted. They found their tribe. And you can't throw those people under the bus when you make a movie like this, because, a lot of them put a lot of their life, more percentage of their life than a producer or a director in Hollywood. And what I like about John and Jonathan is that they care. They know that. Not many people do. You know what I mean? And when you know that and you're a good storyteller, I mean, come on, man, that's a good pot.
I have to leave you, but I will say congratulations on everything you accomplished. Congratulations on Dungeons and Dragons. And I can't wait to see what lies ahead for you in the future. Thank you for being on Collider Ladies Night.